So I guess my tech right now decides that I should make all the videos twice. I just did the same thing as yesterday. Recorded a episode, and this time around, my trusty little F6 audio recorder decided that it would not record the episode to the SD card. Apparently, probably because of some reason, because I've switched some modes and did not enable or disable and then re-enable the tracks that I wanted to record. So let's hope that it is recording now. It certainly shows that it is recording, and I see the meters, but I saw those before as well. Anyways, I thought that I would continue this in the same place that I left it off yesterday, in a way, to continue this conversation or this exploration of what sharing or how much sharing is too much sharing, and how does one build up to that, and how may you uncover the way that you might want to deal with things and go public. Now, I can obviously only do that from my perspective and how I am exploring all of this, but I think that may be interesting to you. And if it's not, maybe it's best to skip this video and wait for another one of the reviews that is coming up. Now, this topic, as you may know, based on the video that I published yesterday, comes to me as a re-exploration of who do I want to be online, who can I be online, how many of the onion layers do I have to peel off, or do I want to share? And that reminds me of two things that I found at some point on the interwebs. One was about shamelessness, and the other one was a person that shared a video which was basically called "I don't have any friends." And that was just, I don't know, I discovered that like a half a year ago or something like that. And that and the person that decided to be shameless for a year, those two videos kind of remember or make me remember a time of YouTube where it was very different from what it is now. Nowadays, it is super highly produced. Everybody's using all the best gear, and you have scripts, and there's like a plan to everything that we do here on this platform. And I certainly am one of those people. I also have my studio here, and I have optimized the workflow, and I have great quality aspirations, and I would even like to even step it up further from here and film everything in 4K, publish everything in 4K, use all the greatest microphones or whatever I want in any given moment, and I want to improve. And so it's understandable that YouTube is where it is right now in terms of being mostly produced high quality content that is super successful. And of course also scripted, because that means that the information is condensed down to something that is consumable, information packed, and not just ramblings, which may turn out that this video can be something like that, which is mostly ramblings and someone just exploring their thoughts. Now, when I first got introduced to YouTube as a consumer, that's like 10, 12, 14 years ago. And at that time, it was a very different crowd. It was a very different platform with the main topic of being broadcast yourself. And so not everybody who started on YouTube started with a clear goal in mind. And for many, it was a place to kind of journal publicly. Let's call it that. It's like a video journal produced with your webcam on your computer, nothing fancy, and then just shared with the world whatever was happening or the thoughts that one would have or explorations, as I am doing right now. And I think that was a really inspiring time for me, and I always kind of wanted to bring something like that out myself, but in some capacity I never felt ready to do that because of some fear or just feeling like there's also so much bad happening in the interwebs. Like I could appreciate the wholesomeness that some of these communities that were there and created, and the connection that some of these creators had with their followings or vice versa. Those were really beautiful, but in a way there's also so much hatred on these platforms, in the comment section especially, and there's so many different opinions that are just present here, which is fabulous, but at the same time, there's just so much more, I don't know, driving weird directions sometimes. And so it's always a bit of a scary place to put anything out there which feels more vulnerable. However, it's the YouTube that I got to know initially. Now, this is not to say, and I always will have to preface this kind of situation, that's like, I don't want to say that I only want to go back to that YouTube that was before, because again, even I myself might end up going more into the edited versions of videos again and more into the scripted, information-driven videos, because I also know how well they, for one, can perform, but at the same time also how helpful and valuable those can be. But I also want to be able to sprinkle in between the other stuff that I got to know there. So this is part of that. And again, those two video series, or those two projects, the Shamelessness and the No Friends video series, those kind of inspired me to go back to that kind of video, because it is a personal exploration of something instead of a here is something and I have made this experience and now I'm presenting the result. What about sharing the process itself whilst you are in the midst of it? Because there is some part of me that just doesn't like when something is just finished and packaged and then presented. Because there's always this very real chance that whatever was in between, when it didn't work out, it's just not going to be shared. That's the whole point of the curation that everything is nowadays on these platforms, whether you are on YouTube, Instagram, or anywhere else. We all decide what we share. Nothing is really real. And the same thing goes for this conversation here or this video here. I am sitting down and I'm planning this. I'm not just sitting across from someone talking to no one and also not talking to a friend or something super personal, because I know where this is going to go. I know that it's going to be on my YouTube channel and potentially reaches thousands of people. And so there is consideration in everything that I say and also which I produce, and whether or not I do any cuts or take out parts of what I am exploring here. And of course, also some premeditative thoughts about what do I want to include in all of this. Now, right now, a lot is coming out of the moment, but again, it's based on the premeditation of what may this be. But it's at least much more real than if I were to read a script of some sort or I have a finished experience. Now, let's talk about the shamelessness experiment that I saw a couple of months ago, or years maybe. And that essentially was a person that she decided that she would be shameless for a year and just go for what she wants, what she thinks is right, and just be more shameless. Now, I may have talked about this before in some kind of video, but I keep coming back to that idea because I think that a lot of myself, at least, is that I am very hyper aware of what other people think and whether or not I should be doing something in that context because of, for example, the fear of not being loved or not being liked enough so that I am still an acceptable person. So those kind of thoughts are ruminating, and then that obviously also comes with holding back parts of oneself. So what happens if you are shameless yourself? You just do whatever you want, you do it in the way that you want, and you don't really give you don't give a fuck. You just do. And I think that there's a beautiful part in that, which is that it frees up the world to be, or at least it frees up so much mental clarity because you don't really have to censor anything. You don't have to make too many considerations, and you can just take every moment the way that comes with the expression that you would want to give to that moment. And you don't really have to, I feel like I always have 50% of my processor power of my brain running toward the is this acceptable circuit. So what if I just scrub that and I just put out what I think is right. And this is applicable to all kinds of things. This is if you have a discussion with a friend about something political, for example, to just express your ideas or at least how you feel in the moment. But it also can apply to a business meeting where you want to have, like, you think you're worth a certain hourly rate or the project is worth a certain price. And then you just put that on the table without too many considerations about, oh, well, if I charge too much, they won't like me anymore or stuff like that. Or at least those are thoughts that go through my mind. So this is part of what I am exploring in myself, and I try to go more into that direction, and making videos like this is exactly why, or is part of that exploration of being more shameless and just publishing what I think I want to be publishing right now. And maybe it's weird. Maybe it's something that you wouldn't expect on the channel that I have right now. Maybe you subscribed for something completely different and now you're ending up watching something like this. I don't know. And it's different, but again, being more shameless and just putting it out there. This is my channel. It's under my name. So I can do whatever I want to do here. Now, the other thing about the whole no friends topic was also something that reminded me very much about this whole idea of YouTube is a platform where you can broadcast yourself, but also a place where then out of that broadcasting, out of that vulnerability that one person brought to the table, all of a sudden there's a whole community of people that kind of agreed with what they were sharing, or at least shared that they were having a similar experience. And all of a sudden you have camaraderie. You have people that are going through the same thing. They're experiencing something similar. You're not alone anymore. And this is when with one person being strong enough to bring that to the table and share that online in that forum, all of a sudden you have a platform in the comment section where even people that can't yet share their own story into the form of a video, for example, because that's too public for them. Maybe they're leaving a comment and someone else reacts to that comment. So that's already helpful. I also know that now there's a Discord community for one of the people that I have seen who also shared about that once this whole first wave was going on. And then now we have another person that I found through that process that also has shared about their experience. And there's a Discord server and people are communicating there and building potentially even friendships out of the we don't have any friends situation. Now, this is interesting to me because I somehow have a part of me that connects with that sentiment of not having friends. Now, I have a partner and that's great. I have family and that's great as well. I do have people that I know and relationships that I have somehow in the world of my adult life now. But it's far from what I would consider someone where it's like, absolutely, we call each other every so often, we meet every so often, maybe we even travel to where the other person lives to visit each other. None of that is really currently happening. However, I also have a part of me that says like, well, we have the whole situation right now with the last year being crazy and nobody really can visit anyone anyway. So that's part of maybe that consideration. It's also part of that is also the part that I am building my business and I don't really have much brain space for anything else to kind of explore or meet all too many new people. So I also recognize that is partially my fault that I don't really have that kind of connection right now. But at least it's a interesting, again, exploration and self-knowing or getting to know yourself. But what both of these things bring back to the table is being vulnerable, being someone who shares something or can share something and putting that out into the world. And basically going back to the roots of what this platform has given me when I was first on here, when I was first watching videos on here. And a part of me wanted to be part of that journey. That's probably why I started a YouTube channel with a friend years ago. Since then, that has been discontinued, but then also started this channel and have different iterations of what I am publishing here. From the tutorials and the travel videos and now the reviews and making those, and also these personal messages that I am creating here and I have been creating in some form or another, every now and then at least. And sometimes more and sometimes less. And right now is a big time for consideration because I want to develop a new version of myself, or not necessarily a new version. I want to peel back the onion layers to get to a person that I feel like I can be here without having to consider all too many variables. To put myself here so that I don't have to spend 50% of my brain power considering how would this person react? How would this person act in any given moment? What about just being me? And some people may find that, I don't know, that was not the right direction I wanted to go, but there are people on this internet here where I'm like, I would not want to be like that. I would not want to be presenting videos in that way. For example, the hyper excitement that some people can bring here. And I have seen that specifically with very successful vloggers. And I'm just not that person, or at least at this current situation in my life, I'm not that person. But there's a part that thinks that you have to be that to be successful. However, I also have seen some people who are extremely factual and information-based and very calm, slow-speaking, and none of the thing that I see in those hyperactive or hyper-excited vloggers. And so I can see that there are people that are more what I think I would be, but then I also have this thought that, like, there are a certain amount of people that are, I don't know, people that I look up to in the way that they have success, or they have built something and they have some kind of a comedy or a humor that I don't have, or they have this excitement that they can bring through, or the loudness and the in-your-faceness. And then you have that moment where you think, like, do I have to be that way to be successful as well, or in some kind of way reach something? So all that to say that I want to find who the core of me is, what that would mean to bring that to the table, and how I can do that, I don't know yet, because that's part of the whole exploration that I'm currently going through. Maybe I need to meditate more and step away from certain aspects, step away from, I don't know, view counts on YouTube, comment sections, watching YouTube or Instagram all too much, so that I can rethink what I want to present instead of just be online, seeing what others are doing and basically getting inspiration from all of that. And I think that it may be better to have less of the consumption going on and be more of a producer and living life and sharing the stories out of my life instead of based on all of the things that I see online. That may be something, but I don't know if that's going to be interesting or if that's a direction that I can take at this moment. All I can do is stay curious and explore how I can manage this rebuilding, essentially. And there may be parts that I will disregard, and there may be parts that I try out for a couple of weeks and then stop again. Right now, one thing that I do like, but at the same time it is really a big pressure, are these two ongoing daily projects that I have, which is, for one, to do the 10,000 steps every day, in part on the Walkolution that is standing right there, and then sometimes also just going outside more and going for a walk. However, doing 10,000 steps every single day is also something that you really have to do, and you notice that when you have done those steps, and especially if you've done that for like 200 plus days now. So that's a daily thing that's just happening. And then I also have the daily upload schedule, which I'm currently holding up, and I desire to at least stick to for a while more. And I don't know if I can do that and how I will be able to do that throughout the whole month of October, and especially now also, where some days I just feel like I would prefer not to do anything. Despite also knowing that I am by far not as busy or stressed as someone, I don't know, I just pictured someone working in New York City in some kind of a law firm for like 14 hours every single day and barely having any personal life. Like, I'm not in that situation, but at the same time, right now, I feel like I would prefer to not work a whole week and just don't do anything. No videos, no anything, essentially. But that's not the place where I am right now. That's not what I really want to do, because I believe that that is mostly just the thing that I am scared about, what is going to be produced and how is the world going to react to that, if at all, and how can I then reintegrate that reaction. And I think that's really I'm really curious to see how that all will pan out. But I think I'm going to leave it for that today, or with that today. If you have any real thoughts about this, if you have any considerations, if you want to share something, you can, of course, do that in the comment section down below or via private messages or emails. That's open and available via my website, linked in the description, or on the channel's About page. I'm curious to hear, and I'm looking forward to what I will come up next, because right now there's no real logic behind any of this. And it's an open book, essentially, an exploration, something where I have to write the next page first to see where it goes. With that said, I hope you have an amazing day. I hope this was in some kind of way interesting, and see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.